September was a great sewing month for me. I made 5 new to me patterns and 1 tried and true, and today I'll be sharing all of my makes with you. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to my channel, So Sarah Sewed. I am a 40-something music teacher living in Australia and I love sewing and knitting. Some of the makes I'm sharing today you might have seen in my weekly updates video, but I will be sharing everything I made in September, and some of them you haven't seen before too. And I'm going to start with one of those, which is the t-shirt I'm wearing today. This is the one pattern this month that I had already made before. It's a tried and true pattern for me. It's the Jackson Tee by Helen's Closet. Now this pattern comes in either a t-shirt or a pullover and in different lengths, so a shorter length and a longer length. In this t-shirt, I opted for the shorter length because I thought I was most likely to be wearing it untucked and I didn't need the extra length. Today I'm wearing it with a Marlowe sweater, but I'll remove that so you can see more of the t-shirt. This fabric is from Dupes Designs. Now Dupes Designs is from northern New South Wales, around Byron Bay area, and they make beautiful clothing, but they also sell fabric by the metre. Now they were offering a custom print on demand service earlier in the year, and then they decided to put a pause on it. I think it's back on. The website seems to look like there are a whole lot of fabrics, including new ones that you can order, including the fabric base of your choice. They're selling the swatch books again. So it seems like it's back on again. I couldn't really see clearly how long you need to wait if you do go on and order fabric. But yeah, it does look like it's there. They haven't made any announcements on Instagram that it's back up and running. It seems to be a bit of a soft launch back into selling their fabrics on demand. But yeah, I absolutely love their fabrics. The designs are awesome. They're so bright and colorful, so unique. So this one is called Lumo Patchwork, and you can see it's just a whole lot of different shapes and these great neon kind of colors in there. I'll put some proper pictures of me wearing it. But the Jackson Tee, what I like about it mainly is the neckline. So I've made quite a few t-shirts in the past. Some of them come up a little bit higher. This one is a really comfortable position for me. I really like where that sits. I don't want anything too low. I want a real crew neck t-shirt. The sleeves are quite boxy. And then, as I said, you've got the choice of 2 different lengths. This is the size that fits in with my measurements. I think I made a size 12 for this one. So it's not really oversized, but it's not tight either. You can choose your size depending on the kind of fit that you want. I think Helen recommends it if you want more of an oversized sort of feel to go up by 2 sizes. The pattern's also designed for any body. So it's a unisex pattern and yeah, you just go off your chest measurement really and find the size that suits you or whoever you're making it for. So as I said, this is a tried and true pattern for me. It comes together really, really quickly. I just knit it up with a combination of a lightning stitch and a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine, and yeah, very happy with the way this one's turned out. Oh, I should also mention the cotton jersey from Dupes Designs. They sell in 2 different weights, and I went with the heavier weight, which I think is a really nice thickness for a casual tee. I get so much wear out of this kind of t-shirt. Basically, I live in them. On weekends, all I really want to wear is stretchy knit clothes. So I know I'll get a whole lot of wear out of this t-shirt. I've already been wearing it a lot of times this week and I only just finished it. So yeah, I think a nice thick jersey keeps its shape really nicely, gives you that warmth that you want, but not too much in a t-shirt. And I'm really, really happy with everything about this t-shirt, to be honest. The fabric, the weight of it, the pattern I chose, all worked really well. So everything else I made in September was a new to me pattern. It was really fun to try patterns I'd never tried before. A lot of them had been on my list for a while. I'd been wanting to sew them up. So it was really nice to have the time to do that as well. About half of September I was on school holidays, so I had a lot of time at home to sew. Unfortunately, during some of that time, one of my children had COVID, and it did mean that I was at home looking after him more. So I think I even had more time to sew than I was even expecting to. So yeah, I did get a lot done. So let's start with something else you haven't seen yet if you are someone who's watched my weekly updates. And this one is the Cameron Button Up by Helen's Closet, another Helen's Closet. So just like this t-shirt, the Cameron Button Up is designed for anybody. It's another all gender pattern. And as the name suggests, this is a button up shirt. So there are only 2 variations with this one. and that is with the sleeve length. So whether you want a full length sleeve with the cuff or a shorter sleeve. Now for me, I just decided I wanted a short sleeved shirt. It's what I think I would get more wear out of, and especially in this pattern that I've chosen. So I have been planning to make a Cameron button up in a particular fabric. It was my Precious fabric I was intending to use for the Precious Fabric 24 challenge, but I didn't get time. And I was also a little nervous to use my fabric on a pattern that I hadn't tried before, just in case the fit wasn't quite right or there was a technique that I wasn't sure how to do. I thought it would be worthwhile having a practice on another fabric. So I did have to pop into Spotlight for some thread for some other projects, and I saw this poplin in the cotton section, and it's a pattern by Jocelyn Proust, and I thought it could work really nicely as a test run for the Cameron button up. So I got some, and here it is. So it's quite a geometric kind of design with these beautiful flowers all over it. And yeah, this was a really nice one to sew up. Now, I love Helen's Closet patterns, and I think, and I've said this before, but I think the thing I love about them most is how clear each step is. Everything is broken down into little mini steps, which makes it all very achievable. Everything is just one little thing at a time that you need to do. And yeah, I found this one came together really beautifully. Out of the other 4 clothing items I made this month, they all have buttons and 3 of them have collars. So it was particularly interesting to see how the different collars came together. This was the last one I made actually, and by then I was quite confident with it. And I feel like this one came together beautifully. So we have a collar and a stand, and then buttons all the way down. Now with this particular fabric, it was so busy, I could have gone with any color button, but I ended up just using one that I happen to have, which is just a completely clear button. So it doesn't take away at all from the design of the fabric. Fortunately for me, my pattern matching worked out beautifully. I didn't even try. It was complete fluke. I mean, of course I did try and get the lines. I wanted the pattern, you know, all on the straight line. But when I do up the buttons, these flowers pretty much line up exactly. So this pattern has a yoke at the back and then a pleat, a box pleat. It's hard to see in this particular fabric, to be honest, but that's there. And then there's a bit of a curved hemline. It's quite a long shirt actually. I was surprised by the length of it. But I think for my next one, I'll probably just stick with the same length because I'm likely to tuck that one in. The next one I'm making is more of a drapey fabric, and I imagine that I would want to tuck that one in. So I'll put some pictures of me wearing it. I've just turned my sleeve cuff over one time to just get that bit of a shorter sleeve. And for that look, you can see here we've got an inside yoke as well. And that all came together really nicely. I opted for French seams in the side seams. And then my only exposed seam that way is where I've attached the sleeves. I decided to go around that seam twice with a zigzag stitch, and then that's also top stitched down. So I think that seam should stay nice and neat on the inside too. So, and then I used one of my labels. This is the very first label from the Kylie and the Machine advent calendar from a couple of years ago. And I think it suits this shirt perfectly. So I think sewing up this pattern in a nice crisp poplin was a really nice way to try the pattern out. And I'm now looking forward to trying out my next one. It is quite a fitted shirt. There's not a whole lot of room in this one. I was probably in between sizes 12 to 14. I went with a size 12. And I'm happy with that. So I'll go with that one for my next one as well. I have another button-up shirt now, but this is a completely different design to the Cameron button-up. This is the Seneca Shirt by French Navy Patterns. It's a cropped shirt, very cropped, and the pleat on the back is like a reverse pleat. So, and I think that's actually my favorite feature. I'll put line drawings in here. So you can see there are no variations of this pattern. It's just the one shirt, one length, one sleeve option, and I decided to use an ikat fabric for this. This fabric was a gift from my parents who went to Bali earlier this year, and they bought me 4 beautiful fabrics. And I did ask for your opinions, and this one was by far the overall favorite for making the Seneca shirt. It's a beautiful teal and kind of silver colorway, and this was really lovely to work with actually. A nice cotton, and yeah, it's sewed up beautifully. I did mention in a weekly video how much I enjoyed the details of this shirt, particularly the top stitching. So there's a lot of top stitching details on all of the different seams that give it a really, really nice clean finish, I think. Again, this is a shirt that's got buttons all the way down the center to the top collar. This one I used buttons from Button Mania in kind of a sheen teal that I think works really, really nicely with the shirt. And I've got another Kylie in the Machine label in there. So there you can see the pleat on the back, and it's also got one of these loops. I'm not really sure of the official name, but I put that one in there as well. Initially, I had thought I'd make a bit of a feature out of the front pocket, and I had oriented my fabric on the opposite direction. And I'll put a picture in of here of what it looked like. And there was just something that I wasn't that happy with when I looked at these pictures. And I decided to unpick it and to make a new pocket and to just make it match the direction of the rest of the shirt. And I think it's a little less, it's a lot less distracting, and I'm much happier with that. So you can barely even see it, but it is there. So I'll put some pictures of me wearing it. Now, as you can see from the pictures, it's really cropped and it's really boxy, this shirt. And the sleeves are quite boxy too. So it's taking a little bit of thought as to how to style this shirt. I've worn it with jeans, and I've worn it with over the top of my Orchard dress. And I quite like the look of both of those. I think I'd like to make a couple of high-waisted skirts to go with this for the summer. Yeah, but I'll keep trying different ways of wearing it. As I said, I particularly love the view from the back. I just love the look of that pleat. And yeah, I love this fabric, and it's beautiful and cool to wear. So I'm sure I'll get plenty of wear out of this one in the summer as well. So we have two dresses now, and these are both Tilly and the Buttons patterns. I'll start with the newer of her patterns. This is the Nell Dress, and it was released just recently. And this is a pattern that has a number of variations. You can make it as a blouse, you can make it as a dress, you can make it with a number of different sleeve options, and you can make it in a number of different lengths. So I decided to go with the very simple short sleeve length, and then I wanted my skirt to be below the knee. The fabric I've used for this is by Variety Hour, which is a Melbourne-based clothing brand that have started doing warehouse sales a couple of times a year to get rid of their excess fabric and samples. And one of my friends went along to the sale and kindly bought me some fabric. I didn't ask her to, it wasn't expected. She just surprised me with it at work. And it was this beautiful pink, orange and green flower design, which is kind of a bit of a classic Variety Hour print that they've had going for a few years. So I think I have around 2 to 2.5 meters of this fabric, and I knew I wanted to make a summer dress out of it. It's lovely and light. I think it's, honestly, I don't actually know what the fabrication is, but it feels very light and summery and quite crisp to the touch. So I thought the Nell dress would work really well. The other thing I like about the Nell dress is the V-neck at the front. I find that to be a really nice neckline on my body shape, and yeah, it's one that I like wearing. I've seen on Instagram and also in some of my comments, a lot of people found this dress to be quite oversized and sized down. For me, I measure around a size 5 for Tilly and the Buttons patterns, and I decided to just go with the size 5 and hope that I wouldn't find it too oversized. I think the pattern is intended to be a little bit oversized and to have that sort of roomy feeling, and that's definitely what I wanted. I knew that this would be a summer dress. I knew that the sort of dress that I'll be wearing on the hottest days, and the last thing I want on a really hot day is to feel like I've got a tight dress on. So I wasn't interested in having a fitted bodice. I just wanted to have room. And I'm really happy with the fit on this. So you can see from the photos and the video, there is quite a bit of room in this dress, but I don't think it looks like it's too big for me. I think it looks like it fits me really well. And it does have that movement for me to be able to move freely, use my arms however I like, and not be restricted in any way. This is the first Tilly and the Buttons pattern that I've ever bought that had layers in the pattern pieces, which I was thrilled about because I do get my patterns as PDFs and then have them printed. And I like to just print the size that I need rather than having to look at all of the different sizes, because then I just cut straight into the paper. So I was really happy with that. I found the instructions for this were very clear, very easy to follow, and I found that my dress came together really, really nicely. If I was to make this again, there are a couple of things I would change, and that's mainly because I don't have an overlocker. And so there are a couple of options that I could have taken to make sure that I had a cleaner finish on the inside. It's mainly to do with the facing. So the bodice piece has a facing, and I've turned the dress inside out so you can see, but the facing goes all the way around the neckline and then down the button placket. The instructions say to just finish that edge, and then you can see it there on the inside. Now, I think if I had an overlocker, I'd be satisfied with that, but because I don't, I would have preferred to have tucked it under and sewn it down and then have it like that. If I'd looked ahead in the pattern, I could have realized that and done that, but that's something I would do differently next time. I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but yeah, I think if I wanted it to be neater, I would do that, especially because the rest of the pattern is pretty neat. There aren't inseam pockets in the instructions for this. There is a link to, if you would like to add inseam pockets, have a look at this, this post, but the actual pattern comes with instructions for patch pockets. So that meant I was able to use French seams on the side seams, which I'm really happy with. And then I put the patch pockets on the front. So having that facing just turned under would have meant that I would have been happier with the finishes of my inside as well as the outside. But I think I'll get a lot of wear out of this as long as the weather warms up. But I think it's a great dress, and I've chosen another Kylie in the Machine label for this one. And I'm very grateful to Emma for this fabric, and yeah, can't wait to wear it. My final dress is another Tilly and the Buttons pattern, and it's the Lyra Dress. It's one that I've had on my list to sew for years, and I finally had the opportunity to make it in September. I bought another fabric from Dupes Designs, this time a tencel twill in the design Moonlit Ferns or Moonlight Ferns, something like that. And so you can see it's kind of like a royal blue background with these fern fronds, I suppose, in mustard, a lighter blue, and two different pinks. And I thought that was beautiful. And I thought this would make a lovely Lyra dress. So the Lyra pattern has a couple of variations. It has two different sleeve options, and then you can make the skirt in different lengths. You can make just a simple skirt, or you can make a tiered skirt. I decided to go with a simple skirt, but I extended mine. I basically just extended it to a length that my fabric would allow. Now, actually, when it came to cutting out this fabric, I had a little bit of an issue because there was a printing error on my fabric right down the center. So if I was folding the fabric, basically where that fold was, a thread must have come out of the fabric before the printing and then affected the printing of the fabric. And you can see in this picture what I mean. So there was quite a big section, which is right on the fold, that I couldn't use of this fabric. So I had to manipulate where I put my pattern pieces in order to avoid that. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I managed to do it. So overall, I really enjoyed making this pattern. I enjoyed seeing it come together. The tencel twill was really lovely to work with. It wasn't really slippery, but it does have this lovely drape to it. So I'm really happy with that. I did have a little bit of trouble with the collar. So this was my first collar I had put on this month. And I'm not a confident person when it comes to putting on collars. I need the instructions to be very, very clear. And I have to say, I found the instructions of the collar for this one a little bit unclear. So the thing that was frustrating and unclear to me was the inconsistency of the language used to describe the collar pieces. So when it came to attaching the the collar stand to the collar pieces. They used a description for the collar that they hadn't used before. And I didn't really know which direction I was putting the collar on. And so I tried to find a sew along on YouTube, and I found one by Minerva. So I thought, perfect, I'll follow along with this video from Minerva. And as it turned out, they actually did the wrong thing. They attached the interface, I can't remember which way around. I think they put interfaced to interfaced, the interfaced collar piece to the interfaced collar stand, and it should have been the other way around. And people in the comments were saying, I followed this, but my collar turned out the wrong way. And it wouldn't have been a real issue. I wouldn't have even cared if my undercollar had been the opposite direction, except in this pattern, you cut one collar piece on the straight grain and you cut the other one on the bias. So if I had my collar upside down, I would have had my bias piece as the collar piece that was showing. And with this kind of design, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of it, but you would have seen these ferns kind of on an angle instead of just running straight like the rest of the dress. So I thought that was interesting that I clearly wasn't the only person that found the instructions unclear. I have sent an email and I need to follow up because they have replied and asked for more details about what I mean. So I do want to be clear in just giving that feedback, because I think if they can make that change to make it clearer for new customers, then everyone's a winner. So yeah, I think if you were using a fabric that didn't have an obvious directional print on it, then it wouldn't matter which way you ended up putting your collar on. But yeah, I did. And also Tilly uses photos, not diagrams, for her pattern instructions. And you just couldn't tell in the picture which way she'd put it on, because her pattern piece, the particular fabric that she'd used, you couldn't tell whether you were looking at the bias one or the piece that was cut on the straight grain. So that's just something to be aware of. The next trouble I had with the dress was just as I had almost finished it, the only thing I hadn't done was hem it. I tried it on and I was so happy with it. I thought it was looking beautiful. And then I could see a white line down the placket. And as I got closer to my mirror, I noticed that a thread had pulled or turned or something, and I had a great big white line all the way down the center, which I was very upset about, and it wasn't sure how to fix it. The next day I went to Officeworks. I decided to get some pens and just to try and color in the lines. So I wanted to match this blue and also this blue. And I took a scrap of the fabric to Officeworks and I just started coloring and seeing which ones matched. So I ended up buying these two felt tip pens in two different colors, and I came home and I just colored over the line. And I think it worked pretty well. I don't think it's obvious at all. I don't think anyone would ever notice it. It's not something that bothers me anymore. So I'm going to take that as a win. So I'm really happy with the dress. I did also make the fabric belt to go with it. And I think I'll sometimes wear the belt and I sometimes won't, depending on how relaxed I want to look. So I'll put some different pictures in of me with the belt on, with it off, with the buttons all the way up, with them undone a little bit. And you can see the sorts of different ways you can sort of style this dress. I feel like this is going to be a pattern that I get a lot of wear out of. I love that it's got pockets in the side seams. It's just a really comfortable dress that I know I'll get a lot of wear out of. It's one, again, I made a size 5. I didn't size down at all. I'm comfortable with that sort of the roominess of the bodice piece. And yeah, very happy with this dress. The last pattern I made in September has been used every single day since I made it, and that is a bag. It is the Bestie Bag by BF Patterns, or Blackbird Fabric Patterns. I've talked about this a few times because I was making it over a couple of months and then I'm planning to make more of them. But this is a pattern that the original pattern comes in 2 sizes, a medium and a large, and there's also an extension pack if you'd like to make a baby bestie. So this first one that I made is made in the medium size, and honestly, this is the perfect size for me. I love it. It is so comfortable. It fits in everything I need, and yeah, I just love the look of it. So I made mine using a heavy cotton drill from My Design in a navy blue fabric, navy blue color. And then I lined it with, also from My Design, a Indian block print cotton, which I think works beautifully. So on the inside there are pockets, which you can see here, 2 on that side and 1 on this side. And then there's just plenty of space in there for all sorts of things. I got my hardware from Dreamy Bag Hardware in Tasmania, and yeah, I used a zip that was like on a tape that I had to cut to my own length, and then a little zip pull that says handmade. So this colorway for the zip and the pull is, I think it's called Antique Copper, Antique Bronze, something like that. I'll put the link in the description box. And then I also got a slider in the same colorway too. And I think that with the lining, everything just works beautifully, and I'm really, really happy with it. And then the strap, you can choose to make your own strap with the same fabric, but I bought webbing, and this is the webbing from Kylie and the Machine. And it was in the exact width that I needed, which I think is 1.5 inches, and the color works beautifully. So I couldn't be happier with that. I found the pattern instructions quite easy to follow, but I did find a video very, very helpful, and I used that at the same time. And that is a sew along by Sid Graham on YouTube. It is so helpful. She explains things really well. She goes through the whole pattern, but then gives tips along the way, which I found extremely helpful. And yeah, I used that in conjunction with the pattern instructions. I'd read the instructions, then watch the video, and then sew along with Sid. And it worked out beautifully. So if you haven't made a Bestie bag yet, I highly recommend it, because not only is it a fun sew, it's just really, really handy. And I love mine. There are some different options when you make the Bestie bag. So you can choose to have pleats, which I did. You can sort of see there. Or you can just choose to have no pleats. But I'm definitely looking forward to making more of those. And I have already stocked up on more zips and zip pulls and sliders, so I'm ready to make more. And that is everything I made in September. So as you can see, I had a really busy month. It's an unusual month for me because, as I said, I had a lot of holiday time and a lot of home time. So I got a lot done, and yeah, I love everything I made. And making all of these pieces has gotten me excited about the warmer weather that is hopefully going to be coming very soon. So if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching all the way, and I hope you're having a lovely week, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye bye.